The day Ananias and Sapphira carried their offering to the apostles, nobody in that room suspected what they were actually bringing. It looked like generosity, arrived in the language of devotion, and cost them everything because what was hidden inside it had never been brought before God. You already know that not every gift reaching your hands is what it appears to be. You have sensed it in an offer, in a relationship, in a word spoken over you whose source you could never quite locate. That sensing is the discernment of someone whose faith has been tested by what they once accepted without question. By the end of this video, you will have 12 tests from Scripture you can apply before you ever open your hands again, including a name for what the final gift has been doing quietly inside you. 12 gifts, 12 warnings. The last is the hardest to release. Let us begin with the first one. Warning 1. The gift you never questioned is already inside your covenant. The most dangerous thing in your home is not the one that looks wrong. It is the one that has never been looked at. The object arrived as a gift, a souvenir, a keepsake, a piece that looked harmless on a shelf. Nothing visible happened the day it crossed your threshold, and because nothing happened, the question of what it carried was never asked. God addressed this with a directness that leaves no room for interpretation. Deuteronomy 7:26 does not soften the warning for objects that arrived innocently. Do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. God was not describing a preference. He was describing a spiritual mechanism. The object does not sit there neutrally. It carries the covenant of whatever system produced it. A home that contains it has, without anyone signing anything, entered into a relationship with something God already opposed. The believers in Ephesus grasped this without hesitation. Acts 19:19 records that those who had practiced magic arts gathered their scrolls and burned them publicly. 50,000 pieces of silver reduced to ash. They did not argue the materials were too old to matter. They burned them because a covenant does not lose its claim simply because you stopped believing in it. The scrolls were not dangerous because they were being used. They were dangerous because they had once been used. That was enough. What sits in your home tonight is either under your covenant with God or it is not. There is no third category. The next gift did not arrive from a stranger. It came in a box from someone who loved you, and that is exactly what makes it harder to examine. Type "God guards my discernment" in the comments right now. Discernment is a gift from God that must be actively claimed. Again, God guards my discernment. Warning 2. The object someone loved left a claim you did not inherit. There is a box somewhere in many believers' homes. It came from a grandparent, a parent, someone who passed years ago. It stays because throwing it away feels disrespectful. It stays because nobody ever gave a name to what it might be carrying. 2 Corinthians 6:17 does not soften the instruction to accommodate family sentiment. Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Do not touch what is unclean. That word unclean does not refer only to objects acquired by personal choice. It covers everything that enters the household, regardless of how it arrived or who brought it. The covenant you stand in today was not inherited from your earthly family. It was purchased at the cross, and what you house reflects which covenant currently holds jurisdiction over your home. Gideon understood what God required before a new season could begin. The first instruction God gave him in Judges 6:25 was not about the battle ahead. It was about the altar of Baal, standing on his own father's land. Tear it down, God said. Before Gideon could move into what God was calling him toward, he had to dismantle what his family had built in the wrong direction. The honor he owed his father did not extend to preserving his father's spiritual errors. Some things must be dealt with before the larger assignment begins. You can grieve someone and still release what they left behind. You can love your family's memory without maintaining their confusion as a permanent fixture in your home. What comes next was not placed in your hands by anyone. It was placed inside you, and most people spend years learning to silence it before they ever learn to receive it. Like this video, subscribe, and stay until the very end, because the final section names what God is holding open for you right now. Warning 3. The warning inside you is not anxiety, it is a gift. When was the last time you felt uneasy about a decision and overrode it anyway, because the moment felt awkward? Because someone was waiting? Because saying wait seemed like the unreasonable thing to do? That unease was not nervousness dressed up as spirituality. It was a ruling, and you walked past it. Colossians 3:15 does not describe peace as a feeling to be chased. It describes peace as a ruler. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. The word Paul chose carries the image of an umpire, the one with authority to call the play dead. When peace withdraws from a decision you are about to make, that withdrawal is not emotional weakness, it is a ruling. And overriding it because the moment felt socially costly is not courtesy, it is disobedience wearing the face of reasonableness. Joshua learned what it costs to move without asking. In Joshua 9:14, the men of Israel assessed the Gibeonites with their own judgment and made a covenant with people God had never authorized them to align with. The text delivers the indictment in 6 words. They did not inquire of the Lord. The deception succeeded because capable, experienced leaders trusted their own read of the situation over the internal check God had placed within them. That covenant could not be undone. It followed Israel for generations. The unease you silenced last time was not nervousness, it was instruction. Drop your first name and your city or country in the comments, whether you are watching from Chicago, from Australia, or anywhere else God has placed you. You are not alone in this. Stay until the end, because what is still ahead may be the gift you have carried the longest without ever questioning it. Warning 4. The easy money is still paying for something you did not buy. You did not steal it. You did not ask for it to come from where it came. Someone placed it in your hands, and the amount was real enough that walking away felt foolish. Maybe it arrived through an arrangement that did not ask too many questions. Maybe it came through someone whose methods you already had doubts about. Maybe you simply chose not to look closely at the source because the need in front of you was genuine and the money solved it. Proverbs 15:27 does not make an exception for good intentions. The greedy bring ruin to their households, but the one who hates bribes will live. The word translated as bribes there covers the full range of unjust gain, anything received that was not clean in its origin. And the consequence described is not abstract. It lands on the household, on the children, on the future that the money was supposed to build. Achan did not take the Babylonian robe and the silver to harm anyone. Joshua 7:21 records simply that he saw them, coveted them, and took them. That shorter sequence. He reached for something God had placed outside the boundary and decided the need he felt justified the reach. What followed was not a private consequence. 36 men died in battle. An entire nation suffered defeat. When the contamination was finally uncovered, it was buried in one man's tent, silent and invisible, costing everyone around him what he had decided to keep for himself. The provision God sends never requires you to look the other way to receive it. Type "God guards my discernment" in the comments right now. That is not a phrase, it is a claim you are placing before God. Again, God guards my discernment. What the next gift costs is quieter than money, and by the time you notice what is gone, it has already been draining for years. Warning 5. The grief you are still holding has become the home you live in. Walk through enough believers' lives and you will find it, not on display, tucked into a drawer, pushed to the back of a shelf, sitting in a corner of the mind that has not been cleared out in years. A piece of jewelry from a relationship that broke something in you. A photograph from a season of shame. A gift from someone who used their generosity as a method of control. Every time it surfaces, something in you goes back to a place you thought you had left. Philippians 3:13 is Paul writing from inside a Roman prison, which makes the instruction more striking, not less. Forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what is ahead. He was not describing the absence of memory. He was describing a deliberate refusal to let the past set the terms for the present. Forgetting, in Paul's language, is an active posture. It requires a decision, and sometimes that decision has a physical dimension, an object to release, a room to clear, a permission to stop treating yesterday's wreckage as load-bearing. Isaiah 43:18 records God saying something that should stop every person still clutching the weight of an earlier season. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing, do you not perceive it? The new thing God is preparing does not compete with what you are holding. It waits until you set down the old enough to reach for what He has already placed ahead. The prison was unlocked a long time ago. The only question is why you are still standing inside it. Some of what you are holding is not a memory. It is a message someone sent you about who you are, and the next gift is how that message keeps getting delivered. Warning 6. The pity being poured over you is shrinking who God made you. Nobody warned you about this one. The dangerous gifts on this list have arrived, wrapped in objects, in money, in silence. This one arrives wrapped in concern. A soft voice, a hand on the shoulder, a face full of genuine care. Because the person offering it truly means well, you never think to examine what it is quietly building inside you with every delivery. Proverbs 19:17 says that whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord. Genuine generosity given to genuine need is holy. But there is a version of giving that has nothing to do with the recipient's growth. It is about the giver's need to see someone as helpless. And when that kind of giving finds a person who is already wounded, already uncertain, it does not build them. It confirms their smallest version of themselves, saying, without ever using the words, "You cannot do this without me." Jesus walked into exactly that dynamic at the pool of Bethesda. A man had been lying in the same place for 38 years, people working around him, his presence at the edge of the water treated as permanent. In John 5:6, Jesus did not help him to the pool. He asked a question that cut through 38 years of received helplessness. Do you want to be healed? Not can you be healed. Do you want it? The longer accommodation continues, the more the identity reorganizes itself around the condition. Jesus saw what the pity had produced, and He refused to add to it. Pity accepted as a permanent arrangement does not keep you comfortable, it keeps you small. And if pity works by making you believe you need someone, the next gift works by making you believe you have finally been truly seen, and that feeling is exactly what it is counting on. Warning 7. The flattery warming you up is laying a net under your feet. The warnings you remember are about cruelty, about people who tear you down, who dismiss what you carry, who make you feel smaller every time they leave the room. Nobody sits you down and says, "Watch out for the one who makes you feel seen." Nobody warns you about warmth. Proverbs 29:5 names the mechanism without softening it. A person who flatters their neighbor spreads a net for their feet. The net is not visible. That is the design. The flattery is not the approach to the trap, it is the trap. Every specific compliment is a strand. Every moment of feeling uniquely understood draws the cord tighter. And by the time a request arrives, the favor, the endorsement, the agreement that a clearer mind would never give, refusing it feels like ingratitude towards someone who finally saw you. Absalom understood this before he ever moved against his father David. 2 Samuel 15:2-6 records how he positioned himself at the city gate, intercepted every person coming to the king with a grievance, and told each one that their claim was valid and that if only he would judge, justice would be done. He never forced a single person to follow him. He made each one feel uniquely understood and uniquely valued, until the loyalty transferred without anyone noticing it had moved. The text names what he was doing with 3 words: Absalom stole hearts. Not with force, not with argument, with the precise and patient application of what each person most needed to hear. The person in your life who only ever tells you what you want to hear is not your greatest supporter. They are building something. Every word of affirmation laid at your feet is a strand in a net being prepared for them. Warning 8. The relationship that feels like shelter is collecting your calling. It does not feel like a demand. That is the reason most people are already deep inside this before they recognize it. The relationship feels like shelter, the first person in a long time who truly stays, who asks about your life and actually listens. The warmth is genuine, the companionship is real, and the slow pressure that arrives alongside it never announces itself as pressure. It announces itself as reasonableness. 1 Corinthians 7:15 establishes a principle that extends beyond its immediate context into every significant relationship a believer carries. God has called us to peace, not to a relationship that requires the constant sacrifice of what God placed inside you in order to keep someone else comfortable. Peace in that verse is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of freedom, the freedom to remain who God made you without having to negotiate that identity down to a size someone else can tolerate. Samson was not destroyed in a single moment of weakness. Judges 16:16 records a process. Delilah pressed him daily with her words and urged him until his soul was vexed to death. Daily, the word describes a grinding, continuous pressure against something solid until the resistance gives way. Samson did not surrender his secret because he was foolish. He surrendered it because she had made the cost of withholding feel greater than the cost of giving way. That is the mechanism, not force, not deception alone, exhaustion. And exhaustion is quiet enough that the person inside it rarely names what is happening until the strength is already gone. A relationship that requires you to become smaller, to sustain it, is not offering you love. It is collecting what was never put up for sale. There is someone in your life right now watching a person they love disappear into exactly this. Send them this video today, not with a word of explanation, just the link. Warning 9. The opportunity arrived with a price tag it did not show you. The enemy never leads with the price. He leads with the offer, the thing you have been quietly wanting, the thing you have worked toward, and sometimes wondered whether God had forgotten about. He places it in front of you at exactly the moment your patience has worn thin, and only after your hands have reached for it does the condition attached to it become visible. Exodus 23:8 identifies this mechanism with precision. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see clearly and twists the words of the righteous. The blinding happens first, before the twisting, before the compromise becomes legible. The moment you accept what was offered with a hidden condition attached, your ability to see clearly what you have entered is already compromised. You are now evaluating the situation from inside the thing that was designed to impair the evaluation. When Satan took Jesus to a high mountain in Matthew 4:8 and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, the offer was not obviously evil. The kingdoms were real, the glory was visible. All this I will give you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. Jesus did not negotiate the terms. He did not ask whether a modified arrangement might be acceptable. He refused the entire transaction because no offer that requires the surrender of allegiance to God carries a price low enough to make the exchange worthwhile. The refusal was not a close decision. It was immediate, because Jesus understood that the moment you begin evaluating the terms, the bribe has already begun its work. The bribe on your table right now is not asking for your worship. It is only asking for one small compromise. That is always how it starts. What comes next does not arrive as an offer from outside you. It arrives as recognition, and recognition is the one gift almost no believer thinks to examine. Warning 10. The title being offered is asking for an identity you cannot spare. A title feels like recognition. After years of faithful, quiet, unrewarded work, someone finally sees what you have been doing and puts a name on it. A position, a platform, a seat at a table you were not invited to before, and because the recognition is real and the hunger for it was real. The question of what the title will eventually require from you does not get asked in the warmth of that first moment. Galatians 1:10 places the diagnostic question directly. Am I now seeking the approval of human beings or of God? Paul did not ask it philosophically. He asked it because a life organized around human approval does not collapse suddenly. It drifts, one accommodation at a time. One silence where a word should have been spoken. One softened conviction to protect a relationship with someone whose opinion has become load-bearing in ways it was never supposed to be. The drift is invisible from inside because each individual step feels reasonable. It is only from the end that the distance becomes measurable. Saul is what that drift produces when it runs its full course. In 1 Samuel 15:30, after God had already removed the kingdom from him, after the verdict was final and irrevocable, Saul's first response was not repentance, it was reputation management. "Honor me before the elders of my people," he said. The kingdom was gone. What he was protecting was the appearance of the kingdom. And he chose appearance because by that point the approval of the people had become the only identity he had left. God's voice had been displaced across years of small decisions, each one made to protect a standing that was never meant to be the foundation. The day the title is taken is the day you find out what you actually built your identity on. What comes next is quieter than a title. It arrives in the form of a voice, and it positions itself as wisdom before it begins to redirect you. Warning 11. The counsel you keep receiving is slowly replacing God's voice. There is a difference between counsel that sharpens you and counsel that redirects you. Both arrive in the same form. A trusted voice, a reasonable argument, a perspective from someone who knows your situation and genuinely wants good things for you. The difference is not in the delivery, it is in the destination. One points you back toward what God already said. The other, slowly and without announcing the shift, points you somewhere else entirely. Proverbs 12:15 names the vulnerability plainly. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise person listens to advice. That verse is quoted often as a reason to seek counsel. It is quoted far less often as a reason to examine whose counsel you have been absorbing and what it has been building inside you across months and years of consistent exposure. The instruction to listen carries with it an equally serious obligation to discern what you are listening to, because the voice you return to most often is the one quietly forming your picture of what God would have you do. Rehoboam did not set out to destroy his kingdom. 1 Kings 12:8 records that he rejected the counsel of the older men who had served his father and turned instead to the young men he had grown up with. The voices most familiar to him, the ones most likely to confirm what his instincts already wanted. He did not lack counsel. He had an abundance of it. What he lacked was the capacity to recognize that the volume and familiarity of a voice are not the same as its authority. 10 tribes walked away from his kingdom before the month was over, not because his advisors were evil, because they were aligned with him rather than with God. The people closest to you are not always the ones most aligned with what God is building in you. You can listen to many voices. Only one is permitted to have the final word. Warning 12. The comfort you will not release is the door holding closed. Comfort is not a sin. That needs to be said first, because what follows is not an argument against rest or the quiet seasons God sometimes builds into a faithful life. The danger is not comfort itself. The danger is comfort that has stopped being a season and become a settlement. Comfort arranged around and protected. Comfort that has become the standard against which every prompting of God gets measured and found too costly. Revelation 3:17 describes a church that had arrived at exactly that condition. You say, I am rich, I have prospered, and I need nothing. The assessment sounded like gratitude. It was actually a diagnosis. The church at Laodicea was not hostile to God. It was satisfied without Him. And satisfaction without God produces no hunger, no reaching, no willingness to release what is comfortable in order to receive what is prepared. The most revealing detail in that indictment is not what they lacked. It is what they did not know they were lacking. They called it prosperity. God called it poverty. Jesus looked at the rich young ruler in Mark 10:21 with love. That detail is in the text, and it matters. One thing you lack, He said. Go, sell what you have, give to the poor, and come follow me. The man had kept every commandment. And he walked away grieving because the one thing Jesus asked for was the one thing he had organized his entire life to protect. He left with everything he came with and lost everything he never had the courage to reach for. The question is not whether you have been faithful. The question is whether you have been willing. If you have made it to this warning, you are not the average believer. Most people click away the moment a message begins to cost them something. You stayed, and that is not a small thing. It tells me you are someone who has trusted God when the evidence for trusting was thin, who has chosen the uncomfortable thing before. That kind of faith does not arrive accidentally. It is forged. Do not stop here, because the final section does not end with a warning. It names what God is already holding open for you. There will come a moment in a stillness more complete than any you have known, when every gift you ever accepted passes before the one who saw where each of them came from. Not condemnation, complete clarity. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 names the standard. Test all things, hold fast what is good. Every door of your life, your home, your hands, your identity, is yours to guard in the name of the God who gave it to you. The testing is not the opposite of faith. It is what faithful people do. 12 gifts, 12 doors. One question left standing, not whether you were generous, but whether you were discerning. What you received is not a catalogue of fear. It is a set of tools built for the faith you already carry. Use them. Subscribe and watch the videos waiting for you next. This channel exists to put biblical discernment in your hands before the moment you need it most.